Beware of this relationship. Here's why people ultimately betray you. Welcome to Live Stoic, Live Strong. Have you ever felt the sting of betrayal so deep it left you questioning everything? What if the people closest to you, the ones who know your heart inside out, were the ones holding the knife? And what if I told you the signs were there all along, whispering warnings you didn't hear? Welcome to a truth that will change how you see loyalty forever. Betrayal doesn't sneak in from strangers passing by. No, it creeps from the shadows of those who've seen your soul laid bare, your softest, most vulnerable parts, and still chose to wound you. Picture this. Your best friend, the one who laughed with you until dawn, suddenly turns icy, their warmth replaced by a chilling distance. Or the partner who shared your dreams, your late-night talks, only to vanish without a whisper of goodbye. Maybe it's the coworker who flashes a dazzling smile in the meeting room but weaves a web of slander the moment you turn away. Each cut feels personal, raw, like a theft of trust you never saw coming. But here's the kicker. The signs were always there, hiding in plain sight, like cracks in a mirror you didn't notice until it shattered. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher who pierced through the fog of human behavior, once said, "It is a vice to trust all, and equally a vice to trust none." Betrayal, he taught, isn't a bolt from the blue. It festers in the quiet corners of envy, fear, or pride, building like a storm long before the lightning strikes. It's not a random accident. It's a pattern, a slow-burning process. And once you learn to read its rhythm, you'll never fall for the same lie twice. So why do people betray you? How do you spot the warning signs before they unravel your peace? Stick with me, because by the end of this, you'll see loyalty through a sharper lens, one that protects your heart without closing it off. Seneca warned, "He who suffers before it is necessary, suffers more than is necessary." But what if the pain of betrayal could be sidestepped altogether? What if you could see what's brewing beneath the surface of those around you? The Stoics believed most harm doesn't come from the events themselves, but from our blindness to their true meaning. Betrayal, especially the kind that blindsides you, often begins not with a bold action but with something far more subtle: resentment, simmering in the shadow of unspoken emotions. An untrained mind, the Stoics taught, is a battlefield of contradictions, envy clashing with insecurity, disappointment wrestling with pride. When someone buries those feelings, they don't vanish. They grow, quietly, until they find a target. Not because that person is evil, but because they've never faced the chaos within themselves. The Stoics called this a failure to master the passions, a mind swayed by emotion, not anchored by virtue. In this light, betrayal isn't always about you. It's the overflow of someone else's inner storm. Imagine a cousin you've known since childhood. You grew up thick as thieves, sharing secrets, surviving heartbreaks, and pulling each other through family dramas and empty bank accounts. They were your loudest cheerleader when life was tough, always in your corner. But now, you're starting to shine. Your dreams are taking flight. Your world is expanding. And suddenly, something shifts. Their smiles feel forced. Their words carry a subtle edge. What changed? Was it you? Or was it something deeper? Something they're not even admitting to themselves? If this resonates, if it stirs something in your soul, hit that like button, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more truths that cut through the noise. As we head to the next page, we'll peel back the layers of this hidden resentment and uncover how to protect yourself without losing faith in others. Stay with me. This is just the beginning. We've seen how success can stir silent resentment in those closest to us, turning allies into strangers. But what happens when that betrayal isn't just a reaction? It's a carefully laid plan. Imagine this. You've poured your heart into building a thriving business, bought your first home, and found your voice, speaking with a confidence that feels hard-earned. You expect the people you love, your cousin, your friend, your confidant, to raise a glass to your victories. Instead, something shifts, like a cloud passing over the sun. Their texts grow curt, clipped, as if your messages are an inconvenience. Invitations to family gatherings stop coming, leaving you wondering what you did wrong. When they do speak, there's a sharpness in their tone, a subtle jab disguised as a joke. You catch whispers they've been talking behind your back, calling you lucky, arrogant, or worse, full of yourself. And then, without warning, they fade from your life. Not with a dramatic fight, but with a quiet, suffocating silence. What happened? Your growth, your light, touched a nerve they haven't faced. Maybe they're stuck in a job that drains them, or haunted by regrets they've buried deep. The Stoics would urge them to confront those feelings with reflection, humility, and acceptance. But instead, they shield their fragile ego by turning you into the problem. You become the villain in their rewritten story. Not because you've wronged them, but because it's easier to resent your progress than admit their own stagnation. Have you ever felt someone pull away, just when you started to shine? That's where betrayal takes root, not in a single act, but in a subtle shift of perception. An untrained mind, as the Stoics warned, twists reality to justify its discomfort. They'll convince themselves you've changed, that you're too proud, or that you've forgotten them. But the truth? Your success holds a mirror to their stillness, and they can't bear the reflection. So, how do you shield yourself from this quiet disloyalty, this betrayal that creeps in like a fog? The Stoics would tell you to look beyond words and watch character. Notice the small signs, a shift in tone, a sudden lack of support, or a sting in their words that makes you question your joy. Trust that gut feeling when someone's warmth begins to cool, when they diminish your wins, or make you feel guilty for growing. Set boundaries, not out of spite, but from a place of hard-won wisdom, because betrayal doesn't start with the knife. It begins in the silence before it, in the moments you sense, but don't yet name. Seneca's words echo here. He who suffers before it is necessary, suffers more than is necessary. Once you train your eyes to see that silence for what it is, you can step back, stand tall, and protect your peace, not from fear, but from strength. But not all betrayals are born from inner turmoil or envy left unchecked. Some are colder, calculated, like a chess game where you didn't realize you were a pawn. Seneca warned that premature suffering is a trap, but what if some pain is orchestrated? Not all who betray you are wrestling with their shadows. Some wear masks so convincing you'd swear they're your allies. They walk into your life with flattery, charm, and promises of loyalty, their smiles as warm as a summer afternoon. But beneath the surface, they're not here to build with you. They're here to take, to extract, to maneuver. You weren't outplayed because you were weak, but because you trusted they were playing by the same rules. As we turn the page, we'll unmask these deliberate betrayers and explore how the Stoics teach us to spot their moves before they strike. Stay with me. This is where the game changes. We've uncovered how betrayal brews in the shadows of resentment. But what happens when it's not just a reaction? It's a calculated move, dressed in the guise of loyalty. Some betray you not because they're lost in their own chaos, but because it serves a purpose. To them, relationships aren't sacred bonds. They're stepping stones, tools to climb higher. You're just a rung on their ladder, useful until they've reached the next level. Then, you're left behind, a fading memory in their rearview mirror. Picture this. You're in a business partnership with someone who feels like family, a college friend who's been through it all with you. Late-night brainstorming, crushing failures, and hard-won rebuilds. You've trusted them not just with your money, but with your dreams, your vision for something bigger. Then, one day, the rug is pulled out. They take the pitch you've been crafting for months, present your idea as their own to a room full of investors, and walk away with the deal you poured your heart into. When you confront them, their response cuts deeper than the betrayal itself. It's just business. Those words linger, a bruise on your soul. You feel like a fool, not just for losing the deal, but for missing the signs that were there all along. Looking back, the truth was in plain sight. They only reached out when they needed a favor, their charm flickering on like a switch when it served their agenda. They cheered your wins, but only until your light began to outshine theirs. This kind of betrayal stings because it wears the mask of loyalty, mimicking affection, performing care. When that mask finally falls, it doesn't just break the relationship, it shakes your trust in yourself. Have you ever questioned your own instincts after someone's true colors were revealed? That confusion is part of the wound, making you doubt your worth, your memories, even the moments you thought were real. The Stoics offer a lifeline through this fog, urging us to shift our focus from others' actions to our own responses. They taught that true character shines not in words or easy times, but in patterns, revealed under pressure. If someone's kindness vanishes when you're no longer useful, if their support dries up when your success overshadows theirs, that's not loyalty. It's convenience cloaked in friendship. The Stoics would counsel us to anchor our peace in ourselves, not in the approval or affection of others. Watch actions over promises, they'd say, and let consistent behavior be your guide. When betrayal stems from manipulation, healing doesn't come from chasing revenge or begging for apologies from those who were never sorry. It begins with clarity, with seeing the truth for what it is. Step away with dignity, not bitterness. Don't waste your energy on people who see loyalty as a transaction, a price tag attached to their presence. This isn't about shutting your heart off, it's about sharpening your vision. As the Stoics remind us, some people aren't loyal to you, they're loyal to what you can offer. When that need fades, so does their facade. Your power lies in recognizing this, in believing the patterns people show you, and walking away, not in weakness, but in strength. As we move forward, we'll dig into a darker root of betrayal, one that often strikes just when your life starts to soar. Seneca warned that prosperity can deceive, but what happens when jealousy fuels the knife? Stay with me, we're about to unravel it. We've seen how jealousy can spark betrayal, igniting when your success casts a light on someone else's shadows. But what does that jealousy look like when it's not loud or obvious, when it hides behind a smile? It's not the dramatic, cartoonish envy of angry glares or stormed-out rooms. No, real jealousy is far stealthier, a quiet predator. It offers you a warm smile while secretly wishing for your stumble. It claps for your wins with teeth gritted, words of praise dripping with an edge you can't quite name. And the sting cuts deepest when it comes from those who once vowed to stand by you, friends, family, people you thought would never wield the knife. The Stoics pinned envy as a sickness of perception, born from comparison. When someone sees your peace, your growth, your victories, it can stir a mirror to their own unfulfilled dreams. Instead of inspiration, they feel diminished, small, and rather than face their own shadows, They turn their discomfort outward, aiming it at you. Not because you've wronged them, but because your light makes their darkness impossible to ignore. Let's paint a picture. Mason and Josh, best friends since their college days, built their lives side by side, two creative souls always sparking off each other. Mason spent years grinding, his graphic design business teetering on the edge of failure. Josh, meanwhile, hit the ground running as a freelance writer, his early success a steady glow. For a time, their friendship felt balanced, a shared journey of dreams and hustle. But then Mason caught a break, a single contract that snowballed into 5. Suddenly, his name was in local magazines, his designs catching the eyes of big clients, his voice echoing on podcast interviews. His star was rising, fast and bright. Josh, who once celebrated Mason's small wins with genuine joy, began to change. It started with jokes, sharp little barbs wrapped in sarcasm, each one landing like a pinprick. Then came the distance, missed calls, flimsy excuses, a glaring absence at Mason's big launch event with no word of explanation. When Mason finally confronted him, Josh was cold, defensive, brushing it off. Weeks later, a mutual friend dropped the truth. Josh had been whispering to others that Mason's success was just luck, that his talent was overrated. The betrayal hit Mason like a wave, not because he craved Josh's approval, but because he believed their bond was unbreakable. What he didn't see was the envy festering in Josh, a quiet bitterness that turned personal. Have you ever felt a friend's warmth fade just when your life started to shine? This is jealousy's true face. It doesn't roar, it murmurs. It doesn't charge head-on. It chips away at the foundation, one subtle crack at a time. When the betrayal finally lands, it feels like a shock, but it was never sudden. It grew in the silences, in the moments you sensed but didn't name. The Stoics would urge us not to be blindsided. Do not be surprised by the behavior of others, they'd say. Be prepared for it. Envy isn't your burden to fix, but spotting it is your shield. Notice when someone's applause for you grows faint, when their congratulations carry a hollow ring, when your successes seem to shrink the space between you rather than strengthen it. These are whispers of something deeper, and if ignored, they can harden into betrayal. Thank you for staying with Live Stoic, Live Strong. It means you're seeking more than words. We're here for that journey with you. Protect your energy, not with walls, but with quiet boundaries set from wisdom. As we turn to the next page, we'll explore how to navigate these betrayals with Stoic clarity, turning pain into power without losing your heart. Stay with me. The journey deepens here. We've seen how jealousy can erode bonds, turning allies into adversaries when your light exposes their shadows. But what happens when betrayal isn't about envy at all? It's about a battle for control. When betrayal strikes, don't lash out from a place of hurt. Instead, observe from a place of calm, rooted in Stoic wisdom. Your success didn't break the relationship. It was their refusal to grow alongside you that cracked the foundation. Some won't resent you for what you've done to them. They'll resent you for what you've done for yourself, for daring to rise. And when that happens, don't dim your light to ease their discomfort. Stand tall, quietly, firmly, and rise anyway. Epictetus once wrote, "You may be always victorious if you will never enter into any contest where the issue does not wholly depend upon yourself. But what do you do when someone you trust turns your relationship into a game of power you never signed up for?" Some betrayals aren't born from hidden resentment or emotional turmoil. They're strategic, calculated, driven by a single, quiet goal: dominance. For some, power comes not from connection, but from control, from keeping others tethered to their influence. They thrive when you lean on them, when your world orbits theirs. But the moment you start to grow, making your own choices, carving your own path, reclaiming space they once claimed, they feel the ground shift beneath them. That's when their true colors bleed through. Stoic wisdom urges us to face these tests, not with fear, but with clarity, holding fast to what's truly ours. Our reason, our choices, our freedom. Epictetus would remind us never to surrender these to someone else's need for control. Yet some relationships thrive on the illusion that we owe pieces of ourselves to keep others comfortable. Picture Maya, a woman who poured a decade into her career and education, always humble, always lifting others up, especially her school principal, a mentor she once admired deeply. Maya was the eager mentee, soaking up guidance, grateful for the support. But then her star began to rise. Awards piled up, invitations to speak at conferences poured in, and her name started to carry weight. Suddenly, the principal's warmth turned to ice. In meetings, she questioned Maya's decisions with a sharp edge, assigned her less desirable tasks, and sowed quiet doubts among the staff, whispering that Maya was getting too big for her boots. Maya hadn't changed, but the dynamic had. She was no longer the subordinate soaking up praise. She was a force, and her rise felt like a threat. Have you ever felt someone's support vanish the moment you stepped into your own power? This is the betrayal of control, often cloaked in authority or, worse, feigned concern. It doesn't shout. It strangles, tightening its grip with every step you take toward independence. At first, it's disorienting. Why is someone who once championed me now subtly undermining me? Why does my growth spark hostility instead of pride? Because to someone who needs to steer your life, your freedom isn't a victory, it's a rebellion. The Stoics saw through this. Relationships built on control aren't bonds. They're chains, arrangements of dependence that unravel when you break free. When that happens, those who relied on your submission may lash out, not because of who you are, but because of what they lose when they can no longer dictate your path. Whether it's a friend who guilt-trips you for setting boundaries, a partner who bristles as your confidence grows, or a boss who sabotages your progress behind closed doors, these are not people who want you to thrive. They want you to stay small. As we turn to the next page, we'll uncover how to navigate these power struggles with stoic resilience, protecting your peace without losing your heart. Stay with me. The path to wisdom is just ahead. We've uncovered how some betrayals stem from a thirst for control, turning relationships into battlegrounds for dominance. But what happens when betrayal isn't about power at all? It's about someone casting their own shadows onto you. These betrayers don't want you free. They want you tethered, manageable, fitting neatly into their world. But you don't fight their grip with anger or force. You stand firm with clarity, setting boundaries not as walls, but as quiet declarations of your self-respect. Stoicism doesn't call for retaliation. It calls for sovereignty, for guarding your soul's independence. If someone only loved you when they could steer your path, that love was never true. Let them walk away. Let them stew in their resentment. Let them shrink into their own limitations. But you don't shrink with them. Your growth isn't a betrayal. It's a bold proclamation of who you are. And those who can't honor it never truly honored you. Now, let's dive into a subtler kind of betrayal, one that's less about control and more about projection. Did you know that projection, blaming others for one's own unwanted thoughts or feelings, is so common it's considered a cornerstone of human psychology? A study in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that people wrestling with guilt or inner conflict are far more likely to fling those feelings onto others. often without even realizing it. This means many betrayals aren't about you at all. They're echoes of someone else's silent wars. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, put it beautifully. The things you think about determine the quality of your mind. Your soul takes on the color of your thoughts. When someone's mind is tangled in fear, shame, or buried resentment, those dark hues bleed into how they see and treat you. Their betrayal becomes a mirror, not of your actions, but of their unhealed wounds. This is the betrayal of projection, where someone paints you with their own flaws. They accuse you of lying, not because you've been dishonest, but because deceit festers within them. They call you jealous, not because you envy them, but because their own envy gnaws at their peace. They cheat, then eye you with suspicion. They manipulate, then label you controlling. It's as if they plant their shadows in your light, hoping to dim it. When their guilt grows too heavy to bear, they shift the burden onto you, rewriting reality to ease their conscience. The Stoics saw this for what it is: a soul unmoored from reason and virtue, unable to face its own cracks, so it hands them to someone else to carry. Have you ever been blamed for something that felt completely out of left field, like a puzzle piece that didn't fit? Epictetus taught us, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." When you recognize that someone's accusations reflect their inner turmoil, not your reality, you reclaim your peace. You sidestep the trap of self-doubt, refusing to let their distortions shake your truth. So how do you shield yourself from betrayal born of projection? Don't argue or plead to prove your innocence. Don't shoulder their blame. Instead, observe with quiet clarity. When someone's words feel random, unearned, or manipulative, when their accusations clash with the truth you know, see it for what it is: projection. Their betrayal isn't a mark of your failure. It's a symptom of their refusal to face themselves. Set boundaries with grace, not to punish, but to protect your energy from carrying their unclaimed guilt. As we move to the next page, we'll explore how to navigate these betrayals with Stoic strength, turning their sting into a catalyst for your own growth. Stay with me. This is where wisdom transforms pain into power. We've seen how betrayal can spring from projection, where others cast their shadows onto you, disguising their truth as yours. But what happens when betrayal isn't a reflection of inner turmoil? It's a cold, calculated act for personal gain. Above all, hold fast to the truth you know about yourself. When betrayal comes from projection, it's not your reality being exposed. It's someone else's darkness dressed up as fact. You bear no responsibility for their unclaimed pain, no duty to cradle the wounds they refuse to face. Seneca, the Stoic sage, once wrote, "He who does good to another does good also to himself, not always in return, but always in principle." Yet, not everyone lives by this code. Some offer kindness only when it pads their own path, their loyalty a mere tool for profit. This is the iciest form of betrayal, not born from insecurity or fear, but from a calculated hunger for gain. To these betrayers, you're not a friend, a partner, or a colleague. You're a means to an end, a rung on their ladder. And when your usefulness fades, they discard you, like a worn-out chair left curbside. The Stoics saw through such souls with piercing clarity, urging us not to trust blindly but to study character over charm. They taught that it's wiser to walk alone than to be surrounded by those who'd trade your dignity for their convenience. Narcissistic betrayal often arrives cloaked in warmth, disarming you with flattery, leaning on your strengths, praising your light, until that light outshines theirs or their need for you dries up. When loyalty costs them nothing, they're your biggest cheerleader. But the moment your presence no longer fuels their ego or ambition, the shift begins. Subtle at first, then stark. Imagine you're building a project with someone you've known for years, a collaborator who's always seemed to have your back. They dive in eagerly, offering help, asking questions, showing up with ideas. You start to believe you found a true ally, someone who sees your vision. But as the project gains traction, a chill creeps in. Their tone sharpens. They insert themselves into conversations, claiming space that was never theirs. Then, without warning, they pitch your ideas as their own, edging you out. In the final, crucial meeting, they take the spotlight, seizing credit for the work you poured your heart into. No remorse, no apology, just the cold precision of someone who was never there for you, only for what you could offer. This betrayal doesn't cut like a blade. It leaves a hollow ache, a silence where you thought a friend stood. Have you ever wondered if you misread someone's loyalty entirely? The pain sparks self-doubt. Was I blind? Was it all a facade? But the Stoics would pull you back from that spiral. This isn't your failure, it's a revelation. You didn't lose a true friend. You shed the illusion of one. Their betrayal speaks to their values, not your worth. Seneca would call them enslaved, chained to their cravings for gain, recognition, self-interest. Their actions don't diminish you, they expose them. You don't need to chase their validation or mourn their loss. Instead, you rise, anchored in the Stoic truth that your dignity is yours alone to guard. As we turn to the next page, we'll uncover how to shield yourself from these calculated betrayals, using Stoic wisdom to navigate a world where not everyone plays fair. Stay with me. The path to resilience is just ahead. We've unmasked the chilling truth of narcissistic betrayal, where loyalty is a transaction and you're merely a tool, until you're not. But even after such a sting, you hold something they'll never grasp. A heart that loves without strings attached. While those who betray for gain are tethered to their own self-interest, you carry a rare gift, the ability to give without tallying the return, to love without conditions. To protect this light, you must shift your trust from fleeting words to enduring patterns. Set boundaries, not from anger, but from a quiet wisdom that honors your worth. Watch closely. Who stands by you when there's nothing to gain? Who celebrates your victories when the spotlight isn't theirs? These are the souls who see you, not just what you bring to the table. And when betrayal strikes, as it often does, don't let it harden your heart. Let it sharpen your vision, refine your spirit, and guide you to surround yourself with those who cherish you for who you are, not what you offer. Betrayal, though it cuts deep, is more than pain. It's a mirror, reflecting not your shortcomings, but their truth. It's the colleague who smiles while stealing your ideas, the friend who fades when your star rises, the partner who turns cold when you no longer serve their ego. When you see it for what it is, you can finally release them, and the heavy weight of trying to be enough for someone who was never truly invested. Have you ever carried that burden, wondering why your best wasn't enough? The Stoics would remind you. Their betrayal doesn't define you, it unveils them. It's not your failure, it's their revelation. So do you still think betrayal comes out of nowhere? The truth is, it rarely does. It festers in silence, simmers behind polished smiles, and strikes when your guard is down. But now you see it. Whether it's fueled by jealousy, a thirst for control, projection, or cold calculation, betrayal always points to their heart, not yours. As painful as it is, it's not your unraveling, it's your awakening. The Stoics didn't chase loyalty or beg for fairness. They studied character, choosing clarity over bitterness. They didn't let betrayal make them smaller. They let it make them wiser. And you can too. Here's the deeper truth. Being betrayed doesn't mean you were naive or foolish. It means you were open, authentic, and courageous enough to trust. A strength to carry with pride, not shame. Betrayal may bruise, but it doesn't break you. It teaches you to walk slower, see clearer, and choose your circle with care, building a life rooted in truth and resilience. Thank you for your time. If one idea touched you today, come back next time. It may reach deeper. Share this with someone who needs a quiet moment. See you in the next video.